Hello, everybody. Welcome to A Court of Books and Booze, our basement book club, where together we're going to summarize the current book that we've all been separately reading and dive into a discussion on all the questions and hypotheses that have plagued us through our journeys. Each episode will be about a new book. I'm Skyler, also known as the Skywalker, and I am joined today by my beautiful wife, Jessica.
Hey.
And our lovely best friend, Amanda.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
How are you?
It's been a stressful night so far, so who knew that recording could cause so many stressors?
Everybody knew that.
Yeah, well, I've never been behind the control panel before, so
Just think how easy it's going to be, like, moving forward. Like, we're troubleshooting so many things that we'll be like, you know what, did we go through this, and this? It's not that. Okay, call Jeremy.
Call Jeremy. That's always the answer. It's call Jeremy. How was your guys' week?
Yeah.
About like that.
I know personally, I think I've had the busiest 2 weeks that I've had in a very long time. Like, work is just crazy, it's super busy. I coach soccer, and that's coming to an end, so it's all these little detail things and postseason stuff, and it's just so much all at once, and it's just... And I'm getting married or something like that, I heard, so...
What?
Yeah, crazy, right? So, I will be married by the time this releases, but I think we're down to like 50 days as of today.
Oh my gosh.
Bizarre.
So are we sticking with Napier or are we sticking with Marks?
If anything, I'm going to hyphenate because I like my name. So, I think he should just change his, honestly.
I think
for
you
real.
should too.
It's 2022, and it sounds cooler, honestly.
You'll never not be the Napiers. Never.
It's a running joke in the house. Are the Napiers coming over? It's not the Marts. Sorry, Nick.
Nope.
That's okay.
Oh, for me, it's been real quiet at work, real dead. I've been by myself in my office quite a lot, so it's been long and dragging. So I'm kind of just at that point of this week.
Well, I know you both are not entirely happy with me because we haven't started book 3 in the series that we're reading, A Throne of Glass. Well, Throne of Glass, not A Throne of Glass, but, you know, once we get these recordings out of the way and all that fun stuff, we'll finally jump into book 3 and be way more ready to record next time.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we haven't been reading, like it's been a minute, and I think it's pushing me early into my seasonal depression or something. I'm not sure. But, so I've been catching up on all Golden Mojo podcasts because, you know, there's quite a few of them. So I'm not reading. So I've just been listening to podcasts, catching up. I was listening to the Call Guys the other day, and Gunnar and Colton, they were, you know, talking back and forth, and Colton was talking about something about, with his kid and, you know, how he's picking up on things and just learning from what the parents are doing. And Gunnar makes a comment and says, well, don't send him to hang out with the Goldens because he'll never learn his right from his left. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought that was just a Skyler thing because I make fun of you for that all the time. And it turns out it's your whole family, and I had no idea.
Oh, yeah, it is everybody. And it is...
That's debatable. Because it's not me, and our daughter doesn't get the concept yet, for the most part, being 2. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's everybody.
I just found that interesting. I was like, I make fun of Skyler for that all the time, for not knowing his right from his left. He literally has to put his hands up, and even then he still gets it wrong.
It's totally Skyler, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and yeah, he made that comment. I was like, huh, maybe it's not just Skyler.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad enough that I text my sister and I was like, hey, I need an L and an R tattoo on my arm so I can just look and know. And she's like, that's fine, but you have to do mine.
Well,
that was the end of that. Cause
family tattoo, maybe?
Yeah.
She's done 2 of my 3. and she did a really good job. But I've never had that want to tattoo anybody. And she's like, no, you gotta do mine on my right hand because I can't tattoo with my left.
Well, that might be special for her, a tattoo with your handwriting. I mean, people do that.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Doesn't matter if it's straight.
probably won't be.
No, there's no way. All right, you guys ready to get into it? Talk about Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas.
Let's go.
Sounds good. First book in the Throne of Glass series.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to having a condensed conversation about this for a week. So I want to give everybody a quick kind of breakdown of the episode flow real quick, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong because I'm running this from the top of my head. We're going to do the synopsis, and then we're going to kind of go over our questions and hypotheses and just, have our fun little discussion about it, argument maybe. And then we're going to kind of talk about how we feel and give the book a rating on a scale of what, 1 to 10, you think?
Sure.
1 to 5.
I think
1 to 5?
Yeah,
1
I
to
think
5.
too.
Yeah.
We can do 1 to 5.
That's a common rating system for books.
Okay.
Yeah. Get in it.
Throwing hands in here. All right, so I believe Mrs. Jessica, is going to...
Mrs. Jessica, can you please read us a story?
Oh, God.
is going to give us the synopsis on the first book.
Okay, so Throne of Glass is a high fantasy novel set in a realm called Aurelia. It's about a teenage assassin, Selena Sardothian. The book starts with Selena in a slave camp called Endovier, the place that she was put when authorities caught her a year prior. At the start of the book, she's being escorted by the Royal Captain of the Guard, K.L. Westfall, to go have an audience with the Crown Prince, Dorian Havillard. Prince Dorian is offering Selena a chance to be his pawn in the running to become the new king's champion, which is essentially someone to do the king's dirty work and quote-unquote take care of the people that need to disappear. She will be competing against 23 men, a variety of other assassins, thieves, no do-gooders, essentially. If she wins the competition, in exchange for her services, she'll be released as a free woman in what was supposed to be 6 years, but she got it down to 4 years with some bartering. She ultimately agrees, and they head off to Rifthold, the capital city of the Kingdom of Adarlan. Selena begins her training and preparation under the alias of Lillian Gordana?
Sure.
Yeah, that pronunciation work? Yeah.
Sounds good.
As the king does not want anyone to know that Adarlan's assassin, as Selena was known before she was caught, was a young woman. As time goes on, weird things start happening in the castle, which indicates the possible return of magic, even though the king had banned magic from Adarlan 10 years ago. Along with the intense training to get her body back into top shape, mentally preparing for each upcoming test against the other competitors, and navigating the fun growing feelings for both Dorian and Kael. Selena also starts to then investigate these strange occurrences around the castle, especially as they begin to then turn lethal as time goes on. So once the training ceases and the real competition starts, a competitor is found dead before each challenge. As the competition continues, Selena, along with a few other notable characters, end up discovering what the magical craziness is and how it fits in with the castle and some of the other competitors. Near the end, the final competition commences between Selena and one of essentially the other main competitor whose name was Kane, and Selena is poisoned before their match. She barely manages to scrape by, but with some magic help from a past queen and moral help from Kaol, she does end up winning the match and becoming the king's champion. Kane then tries to kill Selena, and Kaol then kills Kane instead before he's able to get to her. The book finishes with Selena telling Dorian she can't be in a relationship with him as the king's champion because those two things just don't quite fit together. And then she signs off on her contract with the king. And that is the end of book one. Kind of book one in a nutshell there.
Girl,
That was so good.
that was fantastic. Just so everybody knows, we sat down a week prior to recording this and tried to record episode 1 and spent 2 hours and only made it
halfway, maybe?
halfway through the book.
Exactly halfway through the book.
Can I just say, like, how fast this all came about, though? Like, we decided to read this book together. Like, Jess and Sky were reading it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that seems interesting. I'll hop in, and we'll just all, read it at the same time, talk about it. We finish it, get super excited, and then all of a sudden it's, hey, do you want to do a podcast? How about next week? So
We have
to
less
say
than
we
a
are
week.
to say we are more prepared this time than the last recording, I feel is an understatement. So that was fantastic. Loved it.
Oh, thanks.
So good.
It was a lot more concise than what we originally started as episode 1.
Right.
But yeah.
But you hit the big points. I mean, there's obviously a lot more detail in between, but go read the book. Go read the book.
Yeah.
So good.
Definitely. And if anybody wants to read along with us, we will be letting you know what book we're doing next and kind of what the time frame is for everything if you want to remotely join our book club.
We would love that.
All right, so let's start this discussion, debate. I don't know how you guys want to put it, but I'm gonna say first of all that Selena is a fantastic main character. She's witty, strong, independent. I mean, I think everything you want from a main character in a book series in itself. But
Strong-willed, badass.
yeah,
Yeah, she's a little
Sounds all right.
spitfire. I really liked her, especially from the get-go. Like, I mean, those characteristics came out so fast. Especially, when she's talking to the crown prince, she really doesn't shy back from who she is and how sarcastic she can be. And
Snarky.
I loved it. Yeah. Yeah, she's very, very relatable, very likable.
Yeah. Well, and that continues in her conversations with most everybody.
With such a quick synopsis, we do miss kind of touching on some of the lesser characters.
Yeah.
Duke Parrington's introduced in the first chapter, and he's the king's right hand, and the dude is just a dick. When he's first introduced, he slams Selena's face into the floor, and we just see more and more of that as the book goes on.
He's demanding respect at that point and just acting like a complete ass.
But he also happens to be the main villain of the book's sponsor, and that being Kane. So we get a lot of insight into him as the book goes on.
Dude's just not a good guy. I mean, and he, the whole situation with Caltaine as well, and
There are like 3 good guys in this book, right? And that's
Straight
Kaol,
up.
Dorian, and Knox.
good guys, good people. I mean, you can. There's a lot of morally gray. There's a lot of morally gray things. There's not a lot
That's what I'm
of
saying.
just
So-
straight.
She's closest to Dorian and Kaol, right? And you see that those relationships progress throughout the book. But Kaol, who's captain of the guard, has to keep reminding himself, like, dude, you get along with her, you like her, but she is an assassin. And I feel like the readers also feel that way too.
Yeah.
Because she is the main character, and you're seeing everything from her point of view, and you really like her, but you're just like, dude, she kills people for a living. Like, that's why she's here.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I shouldn't feel this way, but I still like her. It's conflicting, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that.
I don't know. I think it kind of surprised me of how normal she was. I mean, like, she was just going through life like a normal girl. Like, you were reading it like it was just another character. But then you did forget those moments where, like, yeah, she's got no problem, like, flipping that switch and killing somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like at one point she talks about, she's like, "Oh, I love clothes. And
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of all these other girls in their fancy clothes."
That one detail just threw me so often in the book, how when she finally got to the castle and they were setting her up with her alias and getting her all these new clothes and everything, and she was just like relishing in the fabrics and the looks of these things, and I'm just like, this just seems so strange for your personality.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, you know, she's an assassin, but you also have to keep in mind she's an 18-year-old girl.
Right, and we do get detail about her background a little bit in the book about how she grew up being trained as an assassin. I mean, she was picked up by the King of Assassins when she was 8, I think is what they mentioned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure that luxuries like that weren't a common thing for what she was training to do and how she grew up, so. But then again, she's catching me, pulling my heartstrings, making me feel for this girl.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's talk Selena and Dorian's relationship a little bit, just to kind of to touch on this topic, because it's such like a big key factor in this whole book. And at the end of it, it's just kind of like, oh, that's it, we're done, no more. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
I think he easily forgot she was an assassin. I mean, he's putting himself in harm's way with this person who could literally kill him at any point in time.
Well, and I mean, that's K.All's big thing. This whole
Right.
book, he's like,
Stop
hey,
being stupid.
Yeah, she's an assassin. She can kill you with no problem.
Yeah.
Get away. Go away.
I just think he was so infatuated by her that he really did not care.
I think a lot of it, just maybe the way that I took it, was that there are so many women that were constantly flocking to him. Probably partly because of his looks, probably a lot because of his status. And that was constant. So this one person that could give it and take it, as far as, you know, her wit and her sarcasm and all of that, you know, I'm sure it was refreshing to him, and who didn't bow to him just because of who he was and actually just was genuine. I think that was probably a lot of it, probably a lot of why he latched on to her.
You know what I did wonder though, as their relationship went on? It's no secret that Dorian and his dad do not get along. Right? The king.
Totally. Yeah.
Not on the same page whatsoever.
Couldn't be further apart in their demeanors.
Right. So when he went to Endovier to approach Selena about the whole proposition and the competition, he stated that he did it because he knew it would annoy his father. Like, this is, Ardalin's assassin, this 18-year-old girl, whatever. There's only small portions in the book where it switches over to Dorian's point of view. I slightly wonder if he started getting closer to her to annoy his father. I don't think he thought it was going to go as far as it did, or that he'd actually like her, but I do wonder if it started that way.
Especially because there were, I mean, just in the original first time that we meet the king in the book, it's right after they get to Rifthold, and K.All's getting Selena set up in her rooms, and so Dorian goes and has the meeting with the king, his dad, and there were at least twice within that meeting he's like, stay away from her, she's no good,
Right.
stay back, leave her alone, So, I mean, that very well could have been a part of it. Him just going,
Yeah,
well,
I just wonder because, like I said, like
Yeah.
you're never told. Like like I said, there's only very small portions where it flips, and even so, it's only maybe a couple pages. I don't know.
Well, and I think another big point of this push of him being so infatuated with Selena is because, they write him as kind of that womanizer, and, he's sleeping around with a lot of different people, and so it's easier to be like, oh, he's so in love with her because, she wants us to like that character specifically,
Right.
and kind of look past everything else that might have been going on before. Which, I mean, with Throne of Glass, we don't get a lot of backstory. It's really just about the time during this tournament.
Yes, there's just little pieces here and there, and I feel like you're kind of left to put the puzzle pieces together as they come. But they don't come all at once. It doesn't start like, oh yeah, this is what happened, and this is how she grew up, and now here she is. So it's just little moments in the present that she talks about her past, or other characters talk about their past. So, and even then, it's conversation between two characters, so it's just what the character wants to reveal at that time. So you're not even getting the full picture of everything that actually went on, or if it's just a limited version.
Yeah, this book was real slow in the fact that, we didn't learn a lot about any of the characters until maybe the last third of the book.
Yeah,
where
probably.
finally starting to kind of reveal everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it left a lot of room for questioning, room for interpretation at that point. I think the book as a whole did not have like all the puzzle pieces to fit in for like the picture, like the grand picture of things, which I mean makes sense. It's an 8-book series.
Which is
we're gonna get a lot more information as we continue on. It definitely did leave those plot holes that I'm sure we'll get.
I had to keep thinking that too, because something would come up and I'd be like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. Yeah, there were
And
so
I was like,
many
okay,
points.
just trust that you're going to figure it out. They're going to tell you. It's all going to piece together. It's a long series. So, but there were so many moments where I was just, what? Okay, cool. Moving on.
Well, moving on. Let's talk about everybody's favorite character, Nehemia. Right? Right?
Sure.
I mean, we all agree on that at least, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, she's great.
we know she's yours.
think
She's
she's
wonderful.
awesome.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I thought she was probably the best written character in this book. She's introduced, she's walking with
Kaltain.
which I know
Bitch.
we haven't talked about yet, but
What a bitch.
none of us think very highly of that character.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
And she locks on to Selena, and they instantly become best friends, essentially. And we come to find out she's the princess of
Elway.
Elway, which is one of the territories that's been overthrown by Aderlin. So she's there on some diplomatic, which we find out isn't necessarily the cause. So, what do you guys think of her part in this whole book?
I kind of felt bad for her character, honestly, because I felt like she had come to the kingdom trying to do what she could for her own kingdom, for her own homeland, and was just doing the best she could, but wasn't taken seriously about anything that she believed in, anything that, rooted from her people. And, I mean, she had mentioned that she was there at the request of her father to learn their ways. I don't know. I mean, she obviously didn't want to be there. She didn't like anybody that was hanging around her, like showing her around, until she met Selena. But I felt like Selena was almost like the closest thing to home that she could get. She found that friendship in her and really latched on. But I really did feel bad for her because no one was listening to her. She was just she was just there.
Yeah, like she is a princess, and she was there on, you know, sent by her father, and so yeah, she was supposed to be able to, be a part of, when they held court and things like that, to be able to stand in and hear things and give her thoughts on things. But you're right, nobody paid attention, nobody listened, nobody really cared, or I think sometimes even let her know when they were having meetings.
Oh yeah.
But you're right, she kind of did just latch on to Selena, because Selena was able to speak her language, from learning it from other prisoners that were from Elway when she was in Endovier. So you're right, it probably was the closest thing to home because she actually could fully communicate with her at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you guys feel like when Sarah J. Maas writes these books that she purposefully kind of makes the male characters peg down the females a little bit? Because, we see it with Selena and Nehemia where the king and his whole court are like, we don't want anybody to know that you're Adderlin's assassin because you're a young female. And then they kind of exclude Nehemia from everything. Do you think that has to do with the fact that, the king just comes off as a sexist prick?
Well, I think for the time that this is set in, yes. Because to me, would think that was, I think that was what was normalized. Granted, I don't know for sure, but I
think it was. I think it's just the king and who he is as a person, because we get the feeling so far the entire time that he's a dick. He's not a good person. Like we get that feel about him. So I don't think it's surprising, coming from him, that's what he has to say about Selena and keeping her identity a secret. I don't think that that's surprising that his entire king's court is all men, and then who subsequently they choose as all their champion prospects are all men. I think that that's just, he's the big bad ruler right now, so that's who he keeps as his company and who he puts in prominent roles. I don't know that past rulers, or maybe depending on how the story ends up going, future rulers or anything like that, that it would be that way. I do. I think it's the person.
Okay. I'm just curious.
I'm gonna say both because I think that he's on a power trip.
Yeah.
So
totally.
It's whatever I want to do. But this book does give me very much Game of Thrones vibes, in the sense that it's always been men, and it's gonna continue to be that way because that's how we always done it. So that when I read this book, that's the feeling that I get. So I guess I just naturally assume that, it's just we're set in our ways. So and it's always been male. I don't know, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I think that's a great assessment from both of you.
Fair way to look at it, yeah.
Just as somebody who at this point has read multiple Sarah J. Maas series, I kind of find that she always seems to have that one character who's like, I own this person who's under me, and we'll get into that much later, I'm sure. But so Nehemia, we find out, is kind of a supporter of the Elway rebels, right? And this is, I think, a really interesting plot point that I really wanted to talk about with you guys, and that's when she gets the news that the King of Adarlan killed the 500 rebels. Thoughts? Opinions? That was in book 1, right?
That's what I'm literally thinking right now.
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So when that happened, what were you thinking?
Oh, I mean, I was devastated for Nehemia because, I mean, I think that's the point where we almost saw a big flip in her character. You know, she became that less kind of chill, for lack of a better term, badass princess, and, you know, really kind of started to show her hand a little bit. But it's such a big plot point that I didn't just want to brush over it. I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit.
So, I would read this just so I would know. But part of me wants I don't know if book is the word, but some type of point of view from the king's perspective. Because he goes on this trip with all these men. This big massacre happens where he kills 500 Elway people. He comes back with none of his guards.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened. Because you don't find out, except that, yeah, these people died.
In this book, we don't find out.
I say, maybe I'll learn.
Yeah.
But I want to know. I want to know now.
Well, he's super secretive about it, too. Won't even tell
His
Kaol,
Yeah.
the captain of the guard. Won't tell Dorian. Yeah, super secretive about the whole
It's
thing.
sketchy.
Super sketchy.
So I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
I really do. And we might find out later. I know.
But that is a question.
This is one of my what
do
the
you
hell
think happened?
moments. I don't know.
Any guesses? I couldn't even.
I really don't even know.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start to guess. I think we're
Maybe he didn't massacre them all. Maybe he sent them all to work in the salt mines.
No, I think he killed him.
What about, you think he killed all? Well, okay.
His men?
Yeah, well, maybe.
I
Maybe
don't
they
think-
saw things that they weren't supposed to see.
I don't think. Well, no, I meant like you thought he sent his men to the salt mines. Like, nah.
I wouldn't doubt it. They do, like I said, he's not
Kind of an
he's
ass.
not a good dude.
True, but then why would he be all weird about it? I don't know.
Was he really weird about it though? Didn't he just kind of like strut back in and be like,
I don't have to tell
Oh,
you anything.
Yep.
Well, true.
things happen.
I think mass secrecy is weird. Maybe that's just me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he has, an ulterior motive that we just haven't uncovered yet.
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out about the soldiers. Maybe we won't. Guess we'll just have to see.
I'm going to be pissed if we don't, though.
Yeah. You'll need her to write a novella just from the keys.
No joke. I'm going to write her a strongly worded letter. Hey, I personally need this, so if you could just send it to me, thanks. Or just tell me what happened.
Is there anything that you guys want to touch base on?
I also have another
Mm-hmm.
leering question. So, when Selena comes for the competition, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She's given this alias because they don't want anyone to know who she is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, like Dorian and Kaol knows. Philippa, her personal, I don't want to call her a servant because she's not really her servant. She's just Philippa, who helps her, get her clothes and
handmaiden.
whatever. There you go.
There we go.
Philippa knows her real identity. The king knows. Then we find out that Parrington knows.
Well, and the guards know.
Right. Okay. Then we find out Parrington knows. He then tells Kane.
Yeah.
Then Parrington also tells Caltaine, who then turns around and she's the one that drugs her before her last competition.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, does everyone in the court know?
Yeah. Who actually doesn't know?
Right. Because it made it seem like this was this big secret, but then all these people are coming out like, yeah, I know who you are. Yeah, I know who you are. Blah, blah, blah. And I understand why certain people had to know. But then I was just like, man, is there anyone that doesn't know in this place? Because, like...
Like, what's the point of
Well,
this?
I mean, to be fair, though, Kaltain didn't know until, like,
Harrington.
5 chapters before the end of the book.
Right.
So
Right.
it must have been a pretty well-kept secret because she was, she was flirting with everyone who was high up in the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Facts. Bitch.
Yeah, for real.
I
Not a
literally
good
cannot
person.
stand her.
Dorian hated her. Kael hated her.
Ugh.
Selena hated her. Nehemia hated her. We all hate her.
Yeah.
So,
But it was just, man, I thought this is this big secret, but
Yeah.
maybe all these people know. And
Well,
if they were in the court, I mean, but granted, like we just talked about, the king's not shy from keeping secrets from the people he's supposed to trust.
for real.
But then again, in the setting, everyone wants power, so who can you trust?
Well, I think during one of the games, she doesn't say it outright, but doesn't Selena essentially tell Nox who she is?
Yes. Yeah, right when one of the last competitors dies, and she tells him he needs to leave.
Yeah, she essentially, obviously alludes to who she is, and he's
Right.
like,
He
gotcha.
Yeah, in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm just curious. Like,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be this big secret, but everyone seems to know, which, whatever. And after she signed the contract and stuff, she obviously had to sign it under her real name.
Mm-hmm.
So unless the king is the only one that sees that contract, but now that, because she wins at the competition at the end of the series, so once she wins, does it come out that she's, or is that still hush hush because she's female and we don't want people to know that?
I don't know.
Secrets.
you know-
They're keeping secrets from the readers.
I wonder if... I would think that they would get rid of at least the alias, even if he still keeps his champion being a woman secretive. But I don't get how they could, if...
Yeah.
Because this was spectated. People were watching. Weren't people watching?
No.
Oh, I think it was
just his
just
court?
His court, yeah.
Okay.
Because I think they told people that all the competitors were just visiting from other countries.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was just the court of the
Okay.
23 or however many.
Yeah. That makes more sense.
But,
Well, another big plot point that we haven't really got to go into is her tapestry and the...
well, that did happen, didn't it?
This is where this book got a little strange for me. Because, they speak about magic and all this stuff at the beginning of the book, and then it just kind of dies out. And then at some point it's just like, bam, here's a weird shadow creature, here's magic again, it's supposed to be gone but it's not, blah blah blah.
Yeah, it was all these different things happening that all tied together towards
Yeah.
the end. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's a big thing. That's the big question I think that we're left with, is because magic was supposed to be eradicated essentially 10 years ago. Everything was banned about it and it eventually just disappeared. But now we're seeing little bits of it still showing up in things. And so it's like, was it actually eradicated? Has it been around all this time? Is it just coming back? Why is it showing up now, especially in all these different ways? I think that's a big question, is what's really going on with the magic of the realm.
Facts.
So anyway, she figures out this tapestry in her room has a secret passageway, essentially to the sewers of the castle, right?
Like underground tunnels of the old, was it the old castle, right?
Yeah, they're in the stone castle beneath the glass castle is where her room is.
Yeah, picture that, readers.
Yeah. Castle on top of a castle, right?
Wish that I had that kind of money. Ugh.
Yeah, but
Castles on castles.
would you build a castle out of glass?
No, that just sounds stupid.
Okay, Selena.
It does. It does. She's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
It's like those really cool plexiglass things where you can just like, you can't quite see through it. You just make out shapes on the other side.
You know what it immediately makes me think of there? I don't know if you guys ever watched Squid Games when that came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one challenge where they're like one's glass and then one's like whatever the other thing is, and if you step on the glass one, you fall through.
Yeah.
That's immediately when I think of a glass castle. It's like someone could have just
gonna fall
really
through?
screwed up. Like a slave was just really pissed off and then didn't put this together properly, and you're just falling through. I'm just saying.
Oh man. So yeah, she finds behind this tapestry in her room that there is a secret tunnel underneath the stone castle, and it forks off in a couple different directions, and one of them leads out of the castle down to like the sewer areas. And so she keeps that in mind as a possible escape route for the future. Whether she needs to get out during this competition or whether she decides to cut and run after hopefully inevitably winning at this point, or what. So she keeps that kind of in her back pocket.
Yeah.
And she finds one of the other routes goes to a lookout above like the ballroom. Is that right?
Because they were in the middle
Correct.
of a dance at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, she goes down there at one point while there's a dance going on for essentially their Halloween, I believe.
It was Yulemas, right?
It was Yulemas. Okay, so essentially their Christmas. Yulemas.
It was Yulemas, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, I believe it was the first one. Because she went to the Yulemas ball, didn't she?
I don't know. There were 2 balls. She went to one, didn't go to one.
Yeah, she went to like the Day of the Dead celebration where she figured out where this tunnel was.
Yeah, okay. And then the third tunnel went down to a tomb that had some sarcophagi
Dun dun dun.
in it. And who
And
was
whose
in
was
those?
it? Skyler?
Yeah.
It was Elena and Giordano. I don't remember the first
The
king's name.
king!
What was his name, Amanda?
The very first king. That was his name.
See,
Garrett?
Your Highness.
I want to
Garrett.
say
Did it start with a G?
I'm pretty sure
his
it starts
name.
with a G.
His name was
Gavin.
Garrett. His name was Garrett.
His name wasn't Garrett, though, really, was it?
It's the most like 21st century name. It's fine.
It's not that far off from Gavin, okay?
Gavin.
See, I always want to say Brennan, and I know that's not right because Brannon was the
Yeah,
the
no.
villain to the first king and queen.
No, it was Gavin.
It was Gavin,
It
not
was
Garrett.
It was Gavin. I like Garrett though. That was funny.
Oh, man.
But yeah, Gavin and Elena.
Yeah, so she stumbles upon this tomb, and it's obviously been forgotten about. She walks in, the walls are all decorated with what they call word marks, which are the magic markings of this world. And the king's armor and sword are just sitting there. So like these ancient family heirlooms are just sitting in this burial chamber of the king and queen.
Do you think that they built the new castle on top of their tombs intentionally?
That's a good question.
I mean, they're the first king and queen, but the queen is from a country known for magic. Granted, this was well before.
Well, and she's
It's been-
half Fae too.
Right. And
Right.
granted, this is well before it's been, not allowed magic,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a good question. without getting into like book 2 theories and stuff, I don't think I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
What do you think? You think they built it over it on purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as much as they, have these big ceremonies as respect for the dead and things like that, I just think that to push them like down underneath where no one's going to find them or get to them and they're just completely forgotten about, I don't think that's a coincidence.
I think that they're trying to hide them even more than they're already hidden.
Do we know why?
Well,
No.
we know that towards the end of the book that Cain is also using the tunnels. Because that's
Yeah,
where
but he's
he
bad
has
guy. He's bad guy.
that's where he has the Riteract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we know unless he somehow stumbled upon him too that
Right, because we do
Someone led him to them.
right,
Right.
which makes me think because they don't really talk about it in book 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because all you find out is that Cain is the one summoning the Riteract that is now killing all these people.
Yes.
And these competitors are used as a sacrifice. Once this monster indulges in the sacrifice, Cain then gets all their strength, which makes him super strong. And Selena even makes a comment about how every week she sees him, he just looks bigger and bigger, like
Yeah.
muscular wise,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense once you find that out. But like you said, someone had to have shown him, right? The tunnels and all this stuff. Do you think Parrington showed him? That's his sponsor. Without getting into book 2.
Yeah, see this is where we kind of blur lines because
Pretend you
know.
don't know.
if I had just finished reading book 1, I would say yes. I think Parrington showed him the tunnels.
And that's tricky for me because my initial perspective of Parrington is that he is dumber than a box of rocks.
That's what I thought too.
So I would not have thought that he would be leading anyone anywhere.
I know, it's just suspicious because
yeah.
he
Totally.
I mean, he knows all these things about how to open that gate to the other world with the word marks.
Yeah.
Knows about the Riteract and how to control it.
So it's
finds
like,
a place like down in the tunnels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then they don't really talk about the court or the king or anyone knowing anything. So you're like, does he know all this on his own? Where did this come from? Somewhere else, like outside? Did he learn it from someone else? I don't know.
And if so, then where?
We really don't talk about it in book 1.
No.
So that leaves a lot of questions too, because if he knows about this kind of stuff, someone else does too.
Totally.
But like I said, it's a long series.
Yeah, I almost feel like this is the point where we need to end this specific topic because we're gonna cover book 2.
Yeah.
These are all the million questions that pop in my head as I'm reading book 1, and I was so frustrated. And I was like, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
Well, and we knew going into this specific episode that a lot of kind of our questions from book 1 had already been answered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are obviously still unanswered questions.
We got a long series to go.
Right.
Yeah.
I was also, I'm going to make this point. I understood why she did it, but I was very sad that she ended things with Dorian.
Yeah. I saw your face when I mentioned that
The little
part.
taste of romance in this book is just so good. It's just so good. It's just what my little baby heart needed. Outside all like the competitiveness, and I get why she did it. I was just really upset.
It was just that hint of sweetness.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I did not care for that relationship.
I was not a fan either. Like, I thought it was okay, but when you can see that she's got this growth in closeness and relationship with multiple people, obviously it's going on with Dorian, and then it's also growing in sorts with Kale, I'm like, I think I'm a Kale person at this point.
I agree, but I think that Dorian helped her be okay with who she is
Yeah.
and where she came from, because he did ask those questions
Mm-hmm.
and opened that door of vulnerability for her.
Yeah.
So I think, in a sense, he was good for her at the time.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I don't ship her with either of them. I don't care for Dorian or KL, but Nox seems cool.
Oh my god.
I think you just got kicked out of the book club.
That's like that'd be a good friend for her, okay?
Oh yeah, I mean it's just KL throughout this whole book comes off as arrogant, cocky, you know.
Don't you think he
What
kind
a
of has to,
perfect
though?
match.
Don't you think he kind of has to?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense,
He does have moments. Plus, I don't think that he mentions about having. Oh, I don't know if this is book 1 or book 2.
I don't think he comes off as cocky or however you phrased it. I don't think he necessarily comes off as that. I think he comes off as like rigid and by the books. Like, cuz his big thing is his loyalty. His loyalty to Dorian, his loyalty to the kingdom. That's what he exists for at this point, having come from the background that he came from. That's a...
you know what, and that is a fair way to put it.
Because I don't think there's ever, like, we see most of this book from Selena's point of view, so I don't think there's ever a moment where he can't be, quote unquote, doing his job.
Yeah.
Where he has to be stern and uptight and
I don't think
all
he's
that.
cocky just for the,
Just to be an
arrogant
asshole.
just for the
Yeah.
sake of arrogance. Yeah, because I mean, when Selena is spying on the ball, she sees him laughing with his other guardsmen, and
Yeah, best guardsman. What is it? Reese, Ress.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Letting... I hate the pun, but letting his guard down just a little bit.
You had to do it, didn't you?
I had to.
Had to do it.
And just relaxing a bit. So, like, yeah, I don't think that's... I don't know.
You obviously see the relationship between Selena and Kale, building throughout this entire book, and them becoming very close as friends, and the Dorian section of it just felt forced. I mean, I understand it. She's looking for a release, for some fun, whatever, but
I think he really fell for her, though.
oh, I totally agree.
I think it broke
Yeah.
his heart when she ended things.
Yeah, because he was just like, what do you mean it can't work? She's like, what?
Well, I feel like he was
I'm your
ready to
dad's
just.
assassin.
He was ready to just give up all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care where she goes. I don't care who
Yep.
says anything.
He lost his head entirely.
For sure.
Yeah. Which is not the greatest thing to do. So.
Love is blind.
Something.
But I'm excited to see where her ventures go now that she is the king's assassin, and to see
What this means for the kingdom, and
what all we learn.
yeah.
I feel like there's so much more to learn about her.
So much.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to kind of cover real quick?
No, I think we pretty much hit like our main points at this point for book 1. It's pretty straightforward. Like, book 1 is pretty straightforward from beginning to end, I think.
Yeah, just the one last thing I want to touch on is during the fight with Cain, we do learn that Nehemiah can use magic via scribing word marks.
Word marks, yeah.
So that's kind of a big thing. And Selena, when she is fighting Cain, a word mark starts glowing on her forehead. and we don't learn anything about it,
What does it mean?
Yeah.
and that's
And
just kind of that.
Yeah.
More of the unanswered.
Yeah. That's a lot of questions that.
This book posed a lot of questions, which I think sets up for the series.
Yep.
So,
Oh, and Selena is visited by the ghost of Elena, the first queen of Adarlan,
Who is Hefe?
who is half.
yeah, kind of.
That's something we
Kind of her guide and everything she
Yeah.
needs to do while she's there.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, and it's like, and you say ghost. Is it?
spirit.
That's a really like murky.
She's not a ghost, but she's not
Phrasing.
alive either.
Yeah, it's like it. I don't know. That's something I've got like major questions on. It's like, what is actually going on with Elena and
Yeah.
her presence and the way she'll just show up sometimes, and I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
Real curious to see where that goes in her storyline. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, as long as that sums up your guys' kind of thoughts on the book itself, and we covered everything,
What do we rate it?
I'm interested to hear what you guys think on a scale of 1 to 5.
just for book overall.
Book overall, Amanda, you got a number for me?
I'm gonna say a 3.5.
It's not bad.
It's just some of the stuff. Very. I mean, there were some intense moments, but it seemed a little juvenile in some parts. So I'm gonna give it a 3.5 just because I know it can be better,
Yeah.
and I know it will get better. So
Jessica?
For those same reasons, I'm at like a 3.8.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my hot take.
sit back.
I've been waiting for this for 2 weeks.
You've been waiting to rate?
I have been.
Okay.
I thought this book was boring as hell.
Okay.
There's so much dead space between the competitions and everything. And I get, it's the first book in a series. We're trying to build characters and blah, blah, blah.
She was 16 when she wrote it.
Right. There still could have been, instead of glossing over all the competitions, you could have went into detail. There was just so much that I feel like we missed.
How many competitions did she actually talk about in detail?
It's not many.
Maybe, say 3? The
Yeah.
archery, the wall, and then the final duel.
Yeah.
at
No,
the
the
end?
poison tasting was in there too.
Oh, so 4.
4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 4 out of what were they doing? 12, something like that?
13 weeks, 15 weeks, something like
Yeah.
that.
You're right.
So I mean, I enjoyed the book. Don't get me wrong.
You wanted more of the action.
I do. I'm here for the action, and I understand that not everything's going to be written that way. So I'm going to give it like a 2.2. And this is my motto from everything else is, keep low expectations and it makes it better. And that's kind of how this played out too. I went in maybe with a little bit higher expectations than I should have and didn't care for it as much.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There's just different preference. Because
Interesting
I
perspective.
like all the background stuff to where I'm asking all these questions. But I understand wanting more action because, like you said, we only were told about a quarter of all the competitions that they did.
Right.
We don't even know what the other ones were and what they actually did.
It's interesting to see people's different perspectives in what they retain out of a book, what they want out of a book, what they miss, what they like, real interesting.
And you guys
That's
live
cool.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I specifically went low on this one though. I mean, especially if we're only doing a rating out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking for a week that we'd probably be doing out of 10 or whatever. So I might be a little higher than what I say 2.2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a good book. It's extremely well written. The characters are great. It's just the fact that it was very, very slow through
Yeah.
a big chunk of it.
Well, and that gives you, for these subsequent books, it gives you room for what you hope is improvement, it seems
Right.
like. So, awesome. Well,
Yay.
we've got our book ratings in for book 1, Throne of Glass.
Yeah, guys, go check it out. So obviously the next book we're covering is going to be Crown of Midnight. It is the second book in the Throne of Glass series.
By Sarah J. Maas.
Right. And once social media is up and everything, we will be posting all of that. I am right in the middle of creating the Facebook pages, so
You can read alongside us.
Yeah.
Join our book club from your own house.
That was cute.
Don't come to mine. There's no more room.
Amanda, you got anything else to add?
You guys crushed it today. Good job.
Yeah, back at you.
Good job. I'm excited moving forward. So, this series is going to get crazy.
Heck yeah. I'm pumped.
It's hard to avoid all the TikToks. They're like,
Oh,
Throne of Glass
my
is
gosh.
crazy.
Are you on Book Talk yet?
No, I watch her book talk.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I love Book Talk.
Yep.
You want to do any plugs?
I do. Always have to do the plugs. So I want to thank everybody for listening to A Court of Books and Booze. I know I'm drinking my Yingling tonight. I think the girls got some amaretto sour over there, so we're just chilling, having a good time. If you want to support us, or I'm going to call it the parent company, which is Golden Mojo Entertainment, make sure to go check out the other podcast. We've got the United States of Paranormal, Murd Nerds, The Call Guys, Indiana Chiefs Fans Podcast, and Golden Image Podcast. You can find them all on Facebook as well as every other streaming service. So go check them out, guys, and we'd really appreciate it. Girls, we good?
We're good.
All right. So just remember, guys, we are starting Crown of Midnight, and that will be episode 2. So go read it, check it out, enjoy it, let us know what you think. And
Read with you later.
yeah, I like that.
Bye.